effects of the open border and the drugs pouring across and the illegal migrants pouring across. I mean, they're flying people there into Pennsylvania in the middle of the night. The drugs are just ripping people apart. The crime is on the rise. The inflation's on the rise. Gas prices are up. What is the difference between a Republican-controlled Congress and a Democrat-controlled Congress in terms of people's everyday lives?
Yeah, so the two things I hear about constantly, Matt, are illegals and inflation. When I'm out on the streets of Wilkes-Barre, I hear about the illegals that Joe Biden's flying in on ghost flights into Scranton-Wilkes-Barre Airport. We're going to put a stop to that. When I'm in the House majority, we're going to pull funding. We're not going to allow any more ghost flights to make northeastern Pennsylvania into a wild west border district. We're going to stop that. I've been calling for months for the impeachment of Secretary Mayorkas. I believe the DHS Secretary has failed his duty to we the people, to the Constitution, by letting hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants cross our border and refusing to crack down on it. So we're going to put an end to that. The other thing is inflation. I mean, I can't tell you how much it hurts the working people of Northeast Pennsylvania when it's $4.50, $5 a gallon for gas, and they fill up their pickup truck to drive an hour to a construction site like my family works on, or to an oil rig or a gas rig, and it costs $117 to fill up their tank. It is killing people. We have senior citizens in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton and Hazleton paying $4.75 for home heating oil at times. So you're talking about a $1,000 bill to heat their house. They're on a fixed income. They're on Social Security. And my opponent, Matt Cartwright, has done nothing about it. And Joe Biden has done nothing about it. If anything, they've made it worse with the $5 trillion of deficit spending, which is driving inflation. So I would say the two biggest issues that we need to conquer are illegals and inflation, and we will conquer them.
Yeah, another one that we've talked about a lot is, and this is connected to the illegal migration, is the drug crisis. I mean, this is happening. It's hitting every single family out there across the country, whether it be, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a son, a daughter. So everybody knows a friend. Everybody knows somebody that this is affected, and this is intensifying, getting worse every time. Every time we turn around, we see another headline that somebody overdosed on fentanyl or something like that. And that fentanyl is coming in, so it's being made in China, and then it's being shipped to Mexico. In Mexico, the drug cartels mix it into the drugs, and then they ship them. The cartels traffic them into America, and then gangs distribute them throughout the country. And this is affecting everybody from coast to coast. And frankly, I don't hear the politicians talk about this even close to enough, though I have started noticing some starting to talk about it, which is a good thing. But how do we address this? Because I know it's affecting people there in what Joe Biden claims is his hometown. He seems to have forgotten those people because he spends all his time in Delaware and the White House. But the point is that it's affecting everybody everywhere. How do you combat this?
Well, you're so right that we need to talk about it more. So my hometown, Hazleton, sits on the confluence of Route 80 and Route 81. Route 80 comes right out of New York City. We, unfortunately, have become a way station for fentanyl and heroin. Unfortunately, the failing New York Times once called us the heroin capital of Pennsylvania, and that makes my blood boil. This is my hometown, and illegal gangs, illegal immigration and gangs and drug kingpins have tried to devastate it and have devastated some areas of it. Number one, I think we need more treatment for people that are addicted. I know you don't often hear Republicans say that, but I've lost two members of my extended family to overdoses, and it wreaks havoc on families, wreaks havoc on children. But I think, number two, we need to be tough on crime. I think we need to finish the border wall. That will help stop it. But I think we also need to consider federal death penalty legislation for drug kingpins. If you're sending poison onto our streets to kill our kids, fentanyl, heroin, I think that you should be eligible for the death penalty. We need to take a stand. We need to stop this from happening. And number three, I would like to see more support of law enforcement. When you have politicians that are cutting off law enforcement at their knees, how do you expect them to go out and risk their life to go after drug and criminals, gangs, and whatnot? So I was really blessed to be endorsed by the state troopers in 2020, endorsed by most of the FOP lodges here in northeastern Pennsylvania. We must support our law enforcement to get this drug crime under control. And last thing, China. Make China pay, make China pay, make China pay. We need to step up to China and say, if you allow this fentanyl to keep coming in our country, we are going to take trade measures like you've never seen before.
Yeah, look, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, there were two Republican congressional candidates who called on, and this is back in January 2020, okay, January 2020. This is before even Senator Tom Cotton said this. There were two people out there in America. It was you, and it was Matt Mowers up in New Hampshire. And both of you guys worked in the Trump administration, so I think you both kind of saw this coming from a mile away. You guys called for a ban on flights from China to the United States, a travel ban. Very simple thing, and we ended up doing it later. But the thing is that so you guys saw this threat from China, and China let the pandemic out of China. By the way, it's worth noting, China blocked the flights all inside China, right? Like, so they wouldn't let people leave Wuhan and go to Beijing, but they let them leave Wuhan and go to Europe and come here and elsewhere around the world. And so it's like they deliberately let the pandemic out of China. They're doing the same thing with the drugs, right? Like, they're deliberately letting it come out of China and infect the rest of the world. And I couldn't agree more with you. By the way, this is a big theme from our Stefanik interview and our McCarthy interview, which we already published, the McCarthy one, where they talk about the things that they're going to do if and when they get to the majority to actually hold China accountable. We haven't seen the Democrats in Congress in this majority for over a year now. They've been in charge. They haven't done anything. They haven't done a darn thing about China to get to the bottom of COVID and where it came from, or to hold them accountable for the fentanyl, or to hold them accountable for all the other things that they're doing to screw with us. What are you going to do that's different about China? And more broadly, you kind of mentioned the oversight stuff, right? You mentioned impeaching Mayorkas. You mentioned the holding that accountable. But I think that's an important element of a Republican majority, is that one of the things that happens is, rather than document requests, you now have document subpoenas. Rather than requests for witness testimony, you now have the ability to compel testimony. You can subpoena a witness to come in and be forced to answer questions. So that's another element that a majority versus a minority has, is that, yeah, we see the Republicans right now asking for stuff, but they can't force it. If they get to the majority, you guys are going to be able to force it. So explain that for us, because I think that's important.
Matt, I believe the Chinese Communist Party is the number one source and perpetrator of human misery on this planet, and we have to go after them hard. So as it relates to the oversight function, we have Chinese Communist Party agents in this country committing economic and political and geopolitical espionage